Okay, guys, so our debate question is, should English be the global language for the exclusive global language for travel, for diplomacy, for scientific research, for business, for education, for diplomacy between countries? So we'll start with this team. I'm in the back just taking notes, so you can ignore me. Okay, you're working together as two teams.
As the global communication expands throughout the world, so does the need for a mutually comprehensible language. A language becomes global because of the power of the people who speak it. Under the influence of globalization, English aggressively has acquired the status of a global language, and today is known as lingua franca. English is spoken in 105 countries and is the official language in 83 countries. About 20% of the Earth's population uses it for education, scientific research, media, diplomacy, business, and travel purposes. However, the prevalence of English doesn't destroy linguistic diversity. Conversely, English has borrowed many words from other languages such as Indian, French, Italian, and Spanish. Therefore, it makes it universal and easy to learn for all of the nationalities around the world.
Okay.
Hi everyone, today I'm going to speak about English language being the global, exclusive global language for education, media, business and more in our world. We are speaking against this argument and not supporting any claim that is going to made by your group. I want to say that there is 6,000 languages spoken every day in the world, but there are also lots of endangered languages. World should start saving what we have in our hands. People should acknowledge that languages are dying at unprecedented rate, which makes the cultures and knowledge in the languages disappear. When we're already losing languages every 2 weeks, it's not going to be helpful to remove our mother tongue out of the daily use other than in home. Our world is losing its values, its memories and history. I want to clarify that only 1.5 billion people in the world is able to speak and understand English, in addition to 6 billion non-speakers. So by actually accepting your argument, we will give up on 80% of the world's way of learning and understanding. As we are against this argument, we would like to talk about the relation between the language and religion, the moral values that it has for the individual's life, and finally the connection of the language to the way child gets raised and how effective for its child development. So I would like to ask, how are you guys planning to support billions of people that has no idea about the language of English? Thank you.
Sorry. I was just going to, should we continue or should we go ahead with some question and answers?
I think we can answer next one.
What's that?
Yeah, we should ask. Yeah, we should go with after the emotion.
Okay. Go ahead, sorry to interrupt.
Okay. Nowadays, in the times of internet and development of information technology, English is becoming at an unprecedented rate a common language. The largest company controlling the network and information technologies are located in English-speaking country, as for example United States. International services, forum, database, everything is in English. Today, without knowing English, it's very difficult to live. Therefore, there is no need to explain why learning English is important and beneficial. Knowledge of English will make it easier to contact with other people from other nationalities and be able to use a lot of educational texts to gain knowledge from different sides of the world. We should imagine, okay, so now I'm going to ask you to close your eyes and imagine a situation as you are an immigrant. You want to you want to earn money for your family, and you are a head of family, and you want to have to give a good future to your children. So you are going to another country to find a job, and you don't know their language, and you don't know any other language which we can communicate with them. So even if you have good working experience, you are still not able to find a job because of linguistic barrier. So that's why our team strongly agree that everyone should learn English, as English it's everyone everywhere around. Thank you.
Okay, so imagine what will happen if a country loses their religion and they could only speak the language from other countries. It's utterly awful because a language could be counted as a kind of cultural legacy, and it's really important for a country. So to be more specific, a language is created based on their cultures, and languages are the column for their spirit support. So now let me tell you guys a story. It's happened between China and Japan. So we all know that the Japan invaded China started at around 1937, and the region where Japanese occupied in China had to learn, like the people who live there, they have to learn the Japanese, and they have to use it in school, and they are not allowed to use Chinese. So therefore, the students and the teachers started against Japanese together with Chinese government, and they finally fight back to the Japanese. And so let us think about why do they against Japanese. So it is my opinion that they for their generation, they know that if they cannot speak Chinese anymore and they could only speak Japanese, so for the next generation, they could only speak Japanese as well, and they would not have any courages to fight back, and we will lose our land. So we should not have the same languages for other countries.
Let's open it up for question and answer. Let's start with John's team. Okay, John's team will give you, just a quick point on this is just that I would ask that you pose the question and then allow them to answer it, then you can interact. Okay, try to raise your hand so we can identify who wants to ask. Go ahead, John.
Maria has a question.
Can I ask him? Can I ask more? You were saying that by speaking global language, we lose our religion. But tell me how we're losing your religion right now by speaking English in front of us. Because using global language to communicate
Yes,
with
but
us.
I also use Chinese as well. But for the debate topics, it's like people use English for everything.
No, but I'm asking how you lost your religion, how you're losing it right now.
Actually, I did after I studied in Switzerland for 1 year, and when I come back to the China, and I cannot even write my name. I still need to think about that for a second.
Chile is a specific case and can be generalized for the whole population in the world, and they lose their religion.
What did you say again?
Don't you think that you represent a specific case and your statement that English destroys other people's religions?
Not specific case, but most situations like this, like my friends, both of them is doing the same thing as me. Like sometimes they don't even know how to write some Chinese word.
But I still think that this idea relates more to Chinese nationality rather for everyone. Because you were provided the example of Japan and China, but they will talk about English language.
暴击！你要被捅了，你打一会儿。
What he is saying, his case, is proposing that in this circumstance, people are being forced to speak one language and give up on their own language. So what we're trying to promote is linguistic diversity, which is multiple language. People can speak multiple languages while keeping their own religion. So we shouldn't be keeping one language while forcing others to extinction.
这个第一个都有发挥。
Should we switch to the other team?
Yes.
Okay. How about David's team? Anyone like to pose a question to you?
I would like to ask why people cannot learn English but also use their own tongue or own mother tongue in the science, education, businesses.
Because you can, for example, Chinese seems like really hard for like everyone in the world to learn and to speak it. But English seems like much easier compared to Chinese.
There's more
So
than
for
Chinese.
international trade or communication, also the cooperation, English considered as an easy language to communicate.
Also, English language plays a role in discrimination. Because if we have one language, we do discriminate one. Like, no one would mind if I choose Chinese, you're Turkish, or I'm Russian. We all speak one language. Maybe if someone else has an accent, but we still can communicate and understand each other.
So when I go to Turkey, I need to speak English with my Turkish friend about business. Doesn't make any sense.
We're talking about international.
Yet, it's worldwide you're talking about. Everywhere in the world.
John, as you said before, like you said, English is an easy language to learn. Do you have any evidence to back it up, or is this your biased opinion?
There's 6,000 languages.
No,
Can I
it's-
ask you a question?
That's what David said. How is English an easier language to learn? Does anyone have any evidence to support that?
So,
Because like in Spanish there is like male, female parts like el, la or something. But in English it's simple. It's only like one.
Well, she.
But that is still your personal opinion.
yeah.
I want some scientific articles or research that backs up your opinion.
But still, for example, if you have a mixed group of friends, let's say Chinese, Spanish speaker, Russian speaker, which language are you going to choose to speak with them? There's no way
If
will-
you all know Russian, you can speak Russian. You don't need to be specifically
If you're
speaking only
Turkish,
English.
you have a mixed group of friends. One is a Spanish speaker, one is a Chinese speaker, and one is a Russian speaker. How are you going to communicate with them?
If we have any common language other than English, we can speak that language.
But is
It
it
should not be only English that we are able to speak. There's more.
But I can't just like make them learn language in a second. You can't make them learn the language in a second. Like, you can't teach a Chinese speaker like
You cannot learn English in second as well.
That's where bilingualism comes in.
Can you explain?
So basically, all of us are basically bilingual. We all speak another language. And in addition to communicating with each other, we all speak English. So it's not a bad thing to be bilingual. Actually, it's a good thing.
And in addition, English doesn't have to always be the language, the preference language to speak amongst a diverse cultural group. It can be Chinese or Spanish or any other language. If you only stick with English, it's a very biased view.
And also, think about it like us being in a world where we only speak English. Trust me, that's going to be boring. Like, nobody would want to just speak English. Whereas, like, if you speak different languages, you're basically exploring new options, like, different options, different cultures, and different, like, traditions and religions.
But speaking one global language, it's not about the preference, but about the about the globalization, about the history. It wasn't established by our generation. It was happening from like many years. So now we have to deal with things that we got from our ancestors.
Yeah, but our ancestors, they didn't know how to speak English. I mean, I don't have any evidence to prove that up, but speaking from everyone who is here, we all speak different language. So that means our grandparents spoke different languages, and also our great grandparents, and so on. Languages have been like evolving, and that's what helps us communicate better now today. And now that since we have English, it makes it easier for all of us to communicate. However, back in the past it was a little bit trickier. But in a way, there are traditions and cultures that have been like kept within each of us.
Okay, let's take a pause before back to question and answer again, maybe after questions 4 and 5 or 6? 4 and 5. 4 and 5, okay. Let's go on with question 4 and 5 from Johnston.
Guys. So, according to the Classroom website, there is 6 reasons that why we should learn English language as a global language. First one is international relationship. Second is employment opportunities, entertaining and media, travel, tourism, education, mastery, and computers and technology. So first I want to talk about international relations. Now, according to Babel website, the first language which has native speakers first is Chinese, and second is Spanish, and third is English. But in the total amount of people who is talking, first is English by 1.1 billion people. And if you want to talk, if someone tells that the speaking English will make the own culture and own language to go away, I can clearly say that 43% of population knows two language, and 13% of people in the world know 3 or more languages. By speaking English, we can separate our culture also, and it's not only related on language. By language, we can, as I'm going to talk in travel and tourism, when we are traveling to somewhere, we can talk with English and separate our culture. It's the same as we are teaching people in LAS that like my culture is like this, my culture is like that. It's exactly the same thing that happens if the English language becomes the global language. So, as I said, international relations, 1.1 billion people can speak English. So, in the government, education, everywhere. So, already 1.1 billion people knows English. So, if we learn English, we can talk with 1.1 billion people. And this is a huge amount of people which we can talk and communicate. The second one is employment opportunities. Now in the most of the companies, when someone goes to find a job, they ask for English language. Because English language is the language which the companies are talking with each other. Like for example, China is talking with the US talking with like other countries. The third one is entertaining and media. Mostly now in the TV shows almost everything that we watch, songs, everything is in English. We are all listening to English songs. We are all listening to. We are all mostly reading English books, and there are tons of English-speaking language schools in the world. The fourth is travel and tourism, which I talk. Now, as I said, 1.1 billion people can speak English, and in travel and tourism, it will help a lot of people to find their way and do what they need to do. And education and mastery. Now, most of the language in the science and other related some mathematics or something, all words are in English. And by knowing English before, it will help in the education because we already know the English language, so it will be easier to us to learn the scientific words. And the sixth is computer and technology. I can easily say that in all of the technology things that we have now in our hands, they are mostly in English. And the only language that is almost in everywhere in the world is English. And the last thing that I want to talk is about the international trade. And now, according to Investopedia website, the United States in the first place in economics by $20.49 trillion GDP. And also, and who doesn't want to trade with a country with this high amount of GDP? And that's it. Thank you so much.
If your person is 6'2", maybe you're taking some notes just to.
So as mentioned before, every 2 weeks there's a language that is dying. And one day that might be your language. And so according to all the sources that we have been researching, one big one that came up was the use of mother tongue. And the reason for mother tongue is because as kids, we learn the language that our parents teach us. And within there's a lot of history. And imagine if we didn't have that mother tongue, like if we only speak English, we're going to lose that history that our parents had previously. Another example that different languages bring is actually job opportunities. Because with job opportunities, of course there is different languages and there's miscommunications, but in a way, you can learn about the culture and how to save the culture and reconnect younger generations. Our argument is correct because if we would speak one language, we would basically lose that history of our ancestors. And it's something very important to us and something that's important from the past. And everyone wants to kind of, in a way, move forward, but also stay within the past, because that's how we are. Like I said, if we lived in a world that was just only one language, it'd be kind of boring, and you basically wasted all these other languages within, the world, and there's no way to get them back. So it's very complicated. And another source that we found was that about being bilingual is that it's not a bad thing. Everyone in here is bilingual. We all speak English, but we also speak a different language at home with our parents. And the reason for bilingual is, benefits of being bilingual is it increases brain power, academic advantages for us, increases awareness in cultures. It actually creates competitions within jobs, and it is easier to learn a third language. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. What's that? Should we go back to question and answer?
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Brooks,
Okay. My question are to Mohammed. So I want to state some stuff. Mohammed, people does not only travel to the English-speaking countries. You said 1.1 billion people was speaking English. What about the other 6.4 billion people? Is a bigger number. And you said lots of maths descriptions are in English, but they are all coming from, not all, but majorly coming from Latin and Greek language. Because as you know, famous mathematicians are from Greek, and also from like Latin speakers, which Latin is an extant language, for example. And also, you mentioned technology at the beginning of the speech. In technology, people can set up their own language from the settings part. If you need help, I can show
Okay.
You want to respond to that, Mohammed?
So can you first explain me why the medicine
I do not speak anything about this.
okay all the languages in the world. So when you're traveling to China, when you're traveling to Spain, what language are you talking? Just Asian.
I can speak Chinese.
Huh?
Yes.
Wait, when you travel, when you go to Barcelona, what language are you talking in the shopkeepers?
I can speak Spanish. If I am
Do you learn Spanish?
Does everyone know English?
Yes.
No.
Okay, so
Spanish speakers.
what about other 6.5 billion people? Are they not going to travel? Are they not allowed to
So
travel?
if the language of education becomes English, they're going to learn also.
No, like.
Why English why people cannot learn English but also another language?
They can.
Your argument is that people can only use English in education. That's what I'm saying.
So can you think English? Can you repeat the question?
Your argument is that people can only use English in education, business, health. So you're saying people cannot learn any other languages. They should only learn English.
Indeed, but we're not saying
But
they
in
have
home,
to use English.
it's going to become the language of
In home, you're
education.
not learning English. Do you think your father's going to teach Chinese in the home?
They were talking about whether English should stay as a global language or not. And our group encouraged to keep English as a global language, but it doesn't mean that we're against bilingualism or multilingualism. Conversely, we believe that every nationality needs to know their own mother tongue language to keep traditions and culture. But at the same time, English should be used for communication because it's more convenient and 1.1 million people know it. What about 6.4 billion? We can be sure about the statistics, but also we need to take into consideration that some of the people are not educated at all, and maybe they know not only English but other languages too. And you can't just generalize saying like, oh, why we should just know English. It's for our convenience and for our progress in the future.
Can I? And also I want to add, as David said, why English language is the easy language to learn. It's yes, it's easy language to. Why? He said it's not an easy language to learn. Like
He didn't say it. He said
I didn't
just
say it.
ask for
Why
it.
is it not easy?
According to ESL, as the education website and userenglish.com language, English language is one of the easiest language in the world which is existing right now. And also, I want to come back to the bilingualism or the bilingualism point. As I said, 43% of the world have two languages, and 13% of the world knows three or more. Like knowing one more English, which everyone knows in the world. If English becomes a global language in all the world, and everyone knows English, it's not going to be easy. For example, like let's say you become sick in one of the countries which is not good English speaker. So you can't communicate, it's super hard to communicate. But how you communicate? You speak English. And imagine everyone knows English. So are you going to explain your situation better, no?
But
Yes.
I cannot imagine everyone knows English because not everyone knows English.
But if it becomes global language and if it becomes the educational language, you can talk your language in your home, and if you are connected to your language, you will never lose it. But if you learn English in schools, you can move to another country whenever you want.
But there's only 1.1 billion people know English, so why should we choose?
1.1
And there's
million
even like 30
people.
million people know Chinese, so why should we learn Chinese?
Because Chinese are native speakers, like they're native speakers, but 1.1 billion people is not native speakers. They know as like second language. They know
Bilingual.
Yes.
Yeah,
Do you know how much out of this 13 billion Chinese knows another language?
what they know, they mostly know English, no?
No.
Do you know the proportion of how much people in the 13 billion knows another language? In other words, they're bilingual.
And your guys' argument doesn't support bilingualism, just to say. You guys are saying people are only going to use English.
Indeed. No, I'm only.
And if I'm in medical education in China, if I'm Chinese, I'm not going to speak Chinese English to the doctor. I'm going to speak Chinese.
Okay, so let's say you travel to China. Okay, you travel to China. You got sick. For example, me, I went to London, they brought me. My finger is like this, and no one will. And yes, am I going to learn Italian in 5 minutes? Like, doctor, sorry, 5 minutes, and they'll learn Italian and say my finger is broken? No, I'm going to speak English with them.
Okay, but what
And
if,
imagine
what if you
English.
don't know English? What if you know Italian? You're going to speak Italian to him?
That's why you speak
If you're Italian, you speak Italian with him.
Yes, of course you're going to.
So, but if you're in another country, you speak English.
Yeah, but no, I'm saying 6.4 billion people speak English, you know?
I'd love to give priority to Alex and to Arsh's rather than for the next one. So let's do person 6. We'll do one more short question and answer, then we'll go to our conclusions.
Bunu da istersen. Ayarlayayım.
Senin basit istasyonu, böyle basit istasyonu.
So, I'm gonna start with a rhetorical question because I think everybody knows the answer. Like, how many nations speak English as their official language? It's over 70, so that's a pretty big number. And English is a universal language of business. It's being used everywhere. United States interacting with the EU, different countries, even within Europe. For example, I don't know, Italy with France, they might communicate in English if they don't have a translator or some other person who speaks the language. And talking about GDP figures, the Anglophone countries hold the highest share. It's 25% worldwide, which is $22.1 trillion. And that's why it's the official language of business. And according to ASHA, American Speech Language Hearing Association, it says that bilingual kids solve problems and use information in new ways. And we're not saying that English should be the only language that we speak in everyday life and so on. We should use what the question is talking. Let me finish. What the question is talking about: business and education and so on. We're not saying that you have to use that one and you should eliminate Turkish from your mind, or me, Albanian, and so on. And a way, we're pro-English in use of business and so on, and a way that we could put English in everybody's mind is like promoting bilingualism. A way that we can do that and not making the other languages go extinct, which are like 6,000, is like making different institutes around countries where we're trying to promote bilingualism. English, one of the languages, so that people different institutes that teach. For example, Switzerland, people wanna learn more English and they don't want to forget the French, German, and so on. Make some institutes, learn the language, alphabet, history, and so on. So you don't lose that. And the age where we're living is the age of globalization. That's why we need English. Thank you, John.
Okay, guys, let's go off. Let's go to person.
So, it is unarguable that there are definite benefits that a uniform language could bring, as we mentioned previously. However, these benefits are purchased at the expense of the sacrifice of cultural diversity. Compared to all the benefits previously discussed by your team, you might think that cultural diversity is only one weightless thing that's being sacrificed for the greater good. But is this sacrification really worth it? The term cultural diversity is only a composition of two words. However, the underlying beneficial aspects has to be evaluated when approaching this argument. According to the Dubai English teacher, a language is dying every 14 days. This is a fierce, unprecedented rate, and it can be even considered as a global issue that has to be taken serious right now. Now, if you're still skeptical about the severity of this problem, we could take a step back and look into history. What has happened in history. Some might say that having a uniform language can prevent misunderstanding and improve international relationships, like Mohammed has stated before. However, if this statement were to be true, what can you say about the war between the US and the UK in 1812? This event is able to clearly inform that the fact of that misconception due to linguistic differences is not the determining reason for a war or a conflict. Therefore, the statement that a uniform or global language is able to prevent war or conflict is not standing. So we should be promoting the language diversity rather than keeping one language while forcing others to extinction. Thank you.
Yeah, let's open it up for a quick question answer, maybe 3 or 4 minutes later. Mr.
Well, I have a sort of a question about Punchy. About English preventing war. We're not saying that it's gonna prevent, but it's gonna help in some way. Most of the wars that have happened in the past have happened between countries who don't speak the same language and have different beliefs. But if you had English, if you had English to communicate and like express what do you think about this, what do you think about that, I think that would resolve a lot of conflicts.
But I'm pretty confident that each country has a professional translator which can easily communicate between the two countries and share information. However, even though if you have the same language, what can you say about the war between the UK and the US in 1812?
Okay.
They speak the same language and they're native in their language. And they can easily understand what each other are saying and they can understand fully. But how did the war initiate?
Can I ask you to give one more example? Okay. Because
isn't this example enough to explain the problem?
I can count you 1,000 words that goes on between two countries that they are not speaking the same language. For example, right now the war between Iran and US, the war like World War II, Germans and US and Russians.
What's the determining factor of the initiation of this war?
Like
is it because of language that causes the war to start? Or is it other reason that causes the war?
How you can say that if they were speaking exactly the same language to each other, how do you know that they were not going to come together and talk and solve the problem?
Let's take an easier example to make it easier to understand. Between you and your friend, you guys, for example, you guys speak the same language. Can you make sure that because you guys speak the same language, you won't have any conflicts?
You will have conflict, but
right. So language is not a determining factor to promote
conflict that I have with English, like non-same language. It's not so bad.
How would you explain the conflicts between China and America now? For example, America doesn't have really big conflict between Canada or Australia or even the European countries, but they always got trouble with China. What's the reason?
I want to add something. So Mohammed said we don't speak the same language as the people we fight. You said UK, I know Germany was fighting with Russia, USA.
USA.
Yeah, there's more. So I'm saying UK was allies with France. It's not an English-speaking country. It was allies with Italy. It's not an English-speaking country. It's not about language. It's about the diplomacy of the government about the fight. It's about the it's not about speaking one language. Okay.
But how they communicate if they don't have a language?
Okay, so they can communicate with Germany as well, with the translator.
Yeah, but they need language.
But still, translator is using global language, right?
Yeah,
it's
speaking maybe French, maybe Italian, maybe English, maybe Russian.
So this is global language which we can use for communicate to each other. So it's still supporting our ideas.
Why should we give up on other languages? Like I'm not saying we should give up on English. Like But like in debate, it says exclusive global language. It means that we're only going to use English.
Okay, can I ask you a
For
question?
businesses also, but
Maria, can I
saying
ask-
that you should eliminate that as well.
Education,
Can I ask
scientific
a question?
research, government, diplomacy, media, business, travel worldwide.
For these, but it's not used for everything.
It's everything.
In your country, you can
In
use
your-
your language, but like around the world, it's better to use English. So
Last question. What's your solution? If not English, which other language should become global?
We're not saying language should be global. People should be able to, and they should have the freedom to speak any language whenever they want. And
They have
any time.
they have the freedom of speaking any language they want in the home. It's just the language of education. Like
No.
I'm repeating
Look,
education.
it says more than education. And why would I want to speak 5 languages only at my home? Am I learning Chinese from my father? Of course not. I'm learning Chinese, Spanish, English.
With your father, you're going to talk with your own language. When you are studying, you are going to speak English.
So that's
But
what
with
you
your
do
father,
languages.
Did
you're
you-
going to say father.
Mohammed, did you agree with the debate question? It says more than education, education, scientific research, diplomacy, media, businesses, and travel worldwide.
Travel worldwide. But is there anything called family? Is there anything called family?
let's finish.
I will show you something. So please, now I'm like, according to this website, the 565 million users in social media is using English.
Mohammed,
In
where
China,
did you get that picture? Because it could be unreliable.
No, but many of network and website, everything is created by
English.
United States. Like the company in United States, so it's in English. They control whole network. Because for example, Google it's English.
it's about Yandex.
Whenever anyone posts on there, it's not always reliable. Like, to be honest, like any of us could have fallen into a website where it's like, oh, this says this.
But it's not about reality.
Google.
It's about
Okay,
it's about
but we have
language
other
and
options like Google. Look, we are English-speaking people. In Russia, they use Yahoo, I think, or Yandex.
Google.
They use Yandex because Yandex is
You have many options, but
people have
It's
options.
more international.
In China, people use WeChat, but not WhatsApp. You know, like people have options to
We're
choose.
not talking about the social
They
media.
can
we're talking about
Just nations for
They can choose. Why you not understand?
But it's
They can
only-
choose. It is only the language of study.
I'm
When you
studying
study
everything. It's everything.
This
Other than
is-
sound.
When
Okay,
you
guys, let's wrap this part up.
Language.
I want to let John have his I want to conclude very soon.
John and I think
Burak again,
Yeah.
right? Okay, John, whenever you're ready.
As we mentioned in the previous information, in the current world, English has become one of the important languages that people should have to understand. Due to its necessity for international trade or other kinds of international communication and cooperation. At least 20% of the world population are speaking English. 70 countries announce English as their official national language. And 20% of the world GDP contributed by the Anglophone countries. English is not only a language anymore, but it also links or connects the world together. It's adding more volume to the world, for example, helping to promote human development, to bring and create a better human society for us. People benefit from learning English, and the world benefits from that. This is the reason that we are learning English, we are using English. We are creating value to the society, to the world. On the other hand, without English, it would be hard to make it happen. English brings many benefits to us, brings the benefits to the future of human.
Burak, you want to close it up?
So everyone talked about the topic and debated about having English as a global language in our major part of our daily routine. I want to point out each human in the world should have the right and freedom to learn any language they want and use this language whenever they want. People's mother tongue has an extreme effect on child's mental health and development, and of course the growth of the child. And childs are very fragile at a young age, so we should use mother tongue, keep their mother tongue as like a communication to our kids. Our group's point is that people's language is very special to their life and it represents their characteristic values and their culture. We should start working on trying to save languages more than destroying them. And by accepting this argument, we will, as humankind, just make the process of losing languages much faster. Humans should stop destroying important contributors of people's life and start on rebuilding and saving what we already have in our hands. And at last, I want to say there is still 6.4 billion people waiting for your help to learn English. So, and they still cannot speak English right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's give yourself a round of applause. What are you going to say, Mom?
But ask questions in one.
I think we'll save it for another day.
So please, come on, I want to finish this.
All your wrongs now.
You're rock with them all.
Thank you guys. That was a great final debate. We'll do one more in the winter, and the next one I'll let you guys choose the topic. I think the debate seems to